Hey, folks, Dan Hollifield here. Welcome to Last Man Standing. Was really a nice Stupid O'Clock show tonight. We covered a wide variety of topics as we normally do. We've got Chris here with us this evening. Stephanie is taking an early night, and Bill is taking a night off from both shows, which is probably is well deserved. Uh,
Yeah, I
and
think he's spending it with his niece, which I don't blame him.
well, not this time of night, but
Yeah,
they did have all day today, which probably wore him out trying to keep up with a little teenage girl,
I'm
uh,
sure it did.
going here, there, and everywhere. And they actually had posted some of the photographs of them out having fun on their little day expedition. Um, Not only I don't know if they actually got to go see the movie that they were planning on seeing. I don't remember reading that, but they did get to
Yeah,
spend the day together and went out to their favorite Cracker Barrel for a meal and played checkers and all kinds of stuff. And oh, there was one where he took her to a shop where there were beads for
yeah, I saw that.
jewelry and other decorative purposes, and she's standing there trying to pick out packets of beads, and he posted this could take a while. So
Yeah,
yeah, they might still be there trying to pick out beads here at 1 o'clock in the
yeah.
morning.
It's
Oh,
like some ladies are with fabric or yarn.
hey, it's not just ladies. Let me tell you,
Oh,
you get me in a arts and crafts store, I'm gonna be looking on every possible shelf, going, I could really do something with that. Don't know what, but I could buy it now and save it for later.
same way with me in a music store.
hmm Now I've got to go down to Harbor Freight, and I've got to buy at least four, maybe six bottle jacks.
Mm,
The floor is settling underneath the house.
mm,
I've got to prop up floor joists and put up some new support columns underneath it.
yeah,
So I'm going to have to get a pallet of concrete blocks and some flat blocks, the what you call the steps, the solid ones that are half the size of a concrete block,
yeah,
and some of the wooden wedges to level things out. And I've actually got to get under there and raise the existing floor joists up at the right distance to where I can put new support columns underneath them, because it's right down the middle of the hallway, right down the middle of the house.
mm, yep,
And fortunately, the floor joists run 90 degrees to where it's sagging.
mm-hmm,
So I might have to get 4 to 6 of them to get everything right there in that one spot where everything's settling. But
mm,
once I get it done, you know, it'll be a lot of work dragging that through a little doghouse door that I've got for in the crawl space underneath the house. But
yeah,
it's got to be done. I can't get out of it, short of burning the house to the ground. Uh,
yeah, and that's not an attractive option.
no, that's a little bit extreme.
Yep,
So I don't want to go that far.
that's like
But
some people if they see a spider, will
yeah,
take a flamethrower to the house.
you really. But, that's one of the projects that I've got to get done. And I probably should take a vacation week or so once we're convinced that winter is over and it's not going to be raining constantly, and build the greenhouse,
Mm-hmm.
because the greenhouse kit is sitting on a pallet outside and has been since last winter.
Yeah.
And spring last year, I just happened to work that week, so I didn't get anything done before it went from too damn cold to too damn hot. I mean, you
I
know how Georgia
totally,
is.
I totally understand it. Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't have much of a fall anymore either.
No, no.
Basically a week and a half of spring and fall, and the rest of it summer and winter.
Mm-hmm. And
How big is the greenhouse?
it is 8 by 8 feet.
Well, good
So
size.
Lindsay's got a spot picked out for it. It's exactly where she wants it.
Mainly to grow fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, we had a garden 2 years ago, and stink bugs ate everything except my poblano peppers. Yeah, I do mean everything. We had tomatoes. We had two or three different varieties of peppers. We had uh, mustard greens.
Yeah.
We had carrots. We had just all kind of things, and they ate everything except one variety of pepper they wouldn't touch. And
Hmm.
it's not even a hot pepper. It's a very mild pepper. It's the ones where you have you go to the restaurant and you order the chili rellenos.
Hmm.
That's the pepper they use, and
Hmm.
they're just a little bit hotter than a bell pepper,
Yeah.
and nowhere near as hot as a jalapeno.
Yeah.
So they got a great flavor. Though they got a
Yeah.
really great flavor.
I mean, I've eaten serrano peppers and they didn't bother me.
Yeah,
Aren't they supposed to be hotter than a jalapeno?
yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
And I think chipotle is basically just a blackened jalapeno or a
yeah.
grilled part.
I do believe so. I've got an entire notebook full of different pepper varieties. I keep it at work.
I like banana peppers.
Yeah. The reason why I keep the notebook at work is because guys that I work with will bring in grocery sacks full of peppers they grew and just go, "Hey, y'all want some? Take a handful,"
And
And
you
I go,
identify them so you make sure you don't get something you don't want.
"Yeah." I make sure that I leave the habaneros and the ghost peppers and whatnot sitting on the table.
Carolina Reapers and whatnot.
Yeah, because they will grow those. Matter of fact, we got a guy at work. He'd just take a Carolina Reaper and hold it by the stem, bite it off at the cap, and chew it up and swallow it, and not even break a sweat.
Oh man, that's
Yeah,
there's a guy at work. He can eat a lot of hot stuff, and he's got a brother-in-law. He said that has eaten stuff with 6 million Schofield score on it, and it didn't phase him.
well, I've got to tell you, they brought in some habaneros one time, and were trying to con people into eating them.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know what they was. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know what they were. I sliced off a little bit, stabbed it with a fork, and raised it to my mouth, and I got it within about 6 inches of my nose. And all of a sudden, I broke out into a sweat. It burned my lips, and it was not even touching me.
Wow.
So I put it down and I go, "No, thank you. Y'all can laugh if you want to. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm not walking around for the rest of my life with blistered lips."
Yeah.
And they laughed, and I didn't really care.
Yeah.
Uh, I, I, I do enjoy uh, nacho chips with jalapenos on
Mm-hmm.
them. I, at one time, I would not eat anything hot,
Mm-hmm.
any hot peppers at all. Um, just barely could tolerate a couple of splashes of vinegar from the pickled Tabasco that comes in a
Mm-hmm.
little jar
Yeah.
on something. But went to a when I was in college. Went to a party out on somebody's farm, and they had nachos laid out there, covered up in jalapenos and uh, several different varieties of cheese melted on it, and it looked so good. It smelled so good, and I went ahead and pigged out. I believe I had to call into work the next day because I couldn't get 8 feet away from the bathroom. So there's no use me going to work.
Yeah.
But after that, I could tolerate mildly hot peppers, not
Hmm.
extraordinarily hot peppers, but mildly. Uh, Dad used to, when Mom wanted to make oyster stew, Dad
Hmm.
would always get an extra container of the raw oysters and a pack of saltine crackers. I mean, a box of saltine crackers and
Hmm.
a bottle of Tabasco sauce. And he'd put a raw oyster on a saltine cracker and pour Tabasco sauce on it and eat that right there. And I'm going, you sure we related? Mama didn't sneak out the house one night. Um, oh,
Yeah, I did. I was telling John, I said, I went down the rabbit hole I got on YouTube, and that's the reason why I try and limit my time on it, because if I get on it, I'll stay on it and I won't get off, and I'll lose
mm,
track of time. And it just didn't have a very productive day today. But,
well, I've got to admit, I have been binge watching videos about canal boats, British canal boats, the narrow boats, the wide beams, and the Dutch barges. Um, uh, well, to those who don't know, a canal boat is a variety of houseboat, basically, nowadays. Used to be working boats that
yeah.
carried cargo. Now they're being used as uh, houseboats, as residences. They're either for during vacations or full time living. There are people that they've sold their house on land and got themselves one of these canal boats, and they cruise up and down the canals. And they're inland. They're man-made inland waterways mostly.
Yeah.
Of course, they do kind of cross over to some of the rivers and whatnot. And most of them are made for a boat that is no more than 6.5 feet wide,
Hmm.
but they can be 70 feet long.
Wow.
Well, the average is between 45 and 62 feet. And
Hmm.
most of the locks on these canals, because they do have to have uh, a lock system to raise
Hmm.
and lower the boats to different levels of the waterways so that they
Yeah.
take advantage of the terrain and whatnot. So most of them will not fit a boat longer than 62 feet.
Hmm.
And there is a very, very small portion of these canals that are wide enough for the what they call a wide beam, which is
Hmm.
10 to 12 feet. And then there are the Dutch barges, which are 10 to 15 to 18 feet. And the Dutch barges, they're actually big enough and stable enough to where you could take them out on the ocean if you wanted to. I wouldn't, but
Yeah.
some people would not be afraid to.
I
Uh,
wouldn't take them out too far. I might, take them along the continental shelf of,
yeah, take them along
the
coastlines.
coastline,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't take them out over deep ocean.
Well, these things are made to go from England to Holland
Yeah.
and back again. So Uh,
And Holland has a very well established system of canals and
mhm.
waterways.
Now, unfortunately, the U.S. does not have uh, an awful lot of these inland waterways like that are
No.
connected up. I mean, we got lots of rivers, we got lots of
Mhm.
streams, we got lots of lakes, but they don't really connect up all that much. I mean, some are, some do.
The Tennessee River probably has more
Yeah,
canals and locks than any river
yep,
I can think of off the top of my head.
yep. There are places up there near where my family is from where there you can get through several of the lakes are connected by lock systems.
I
Uh,
think Norris Dam's the last one that's the furthest north that's got locks on it, isn't it?
I think so. Yes, and that's exactly where my dad took us fishing when we were kids, fishing and
Mhm.
camping on the lake shore. Um, Norris is a that's a big lake.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean, it it
it's up
it
there with Chickamauga and Nickajack.
it it, it covers a lot of territory, and there are places where uh, it may not be wide, but it's long,
Yeah,
and it's always got these little bays and inlets and coves and whatnot that branch off of it.
yeah.
It's all very fractal, if you want to talk mathematics.
But but yeah, Chickamauga and Nickajack are big lakes
Hmm.
for
But
this area. I mean, now they're not big compared to the Great Lakes, but you know what I'm
this is
getting
true. Yeah. Like I said, these are all boats that are cruising the canal system over in England, and as I said, they're fitted up as private residences, and that you can hire some for weekends or even 2 weeks vacation, stuff like that.
at.
And it's a well developed system that the canals have been there, some of them since the 1600s,
Mhm.
if I remember correctly. There was a lot of work done on some in the 1700s and refurbishment of a lot of them in the 1800s and early 1900s. And there's still repairs and things going on and stuff going on to this day. And it
Well,
looks like a lot of fun, but you can't do that over here because we don't have the same sort of system.
yeah,
You can put one out on a lake and use it for a houseboat. I
yeah,
mean, they only draw 2 to 3 feet of water, so they're really good for shallow water.
yeah, and they're probably pretty stable even if the water gets a little rough.
Well, the narrow boats, the 6 foot wide ones, if you can get the if you can get the bow pointed into the wind,
Hmm.
it's a whole lot different than taking it side on because
Yeah,
you got all that length and no width.
yeah.
So
I was thinking about one of the wider beam boats.
yeah, that was what I was thinking about too. If I was going to have one, I'd have one of the wide beams. I've looked at the Dutch barges, and I really like those. I really like those.
Hmm.
They are they can be really nice, and they're more traditionally shaped like a ship
Hmm.
rather than long and thin.
Yeah,
They're moderately long but very wide
yeah.
and curvy.
But you're also thinking about if you decide to move to England and you got one, you can navigate all those canals that they have there.
If we ever did move to England, yes, I would have to get a narrowboat because there there's the northern canal system and the southern canal system can tolerate the wide beams and the narrowboats, but the only connector between the two
Hmm.
is made for the narrowboats.
Yeah,
And if
so
you
unless they widen that anytime soon, it's gonna have to be
that it
narrow.
ain't happening. The only way you can get a wide beam to go from north to south is you've got to go off to a bay on the east coast of England, get actually out
On the
in
open sea.
on the open sea, not far, but still it's out on the open sea in the choppy waves, and go from one canal that ends in a sea lock and make your way around the sandbars out into the open sea, turn around and come back, and you've got to time it exactly right. The tide has to be at
Mm,
exactly the right place for the locks to be open. Otherwise, they won't open, and you got to sit there and wait.
too bad you can't talk Richard Branson into widening it.
He probably could afford it. I mean, it's
Yep.
not that the one big main connector between the northern system and the southern system is only about 5 miles long, but you've got to convert it from 7 feet wide to about 20 feet wide.
Yeah.
The holdup is not the engineering or digging or anything like that. You've got to deal with the property rights of everybody that owns the land on either side of the one that's
Yeah.
already there. So that could run to several $1 million buying
Yeah.
people's permission to
But
take up part of their yard.
Branson's one of those that could afford it.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah, I was basically looking for ideas. I told you about I've been posting a different song each day on my
Hmm.
Facebook page for the month of March. And I've got some ideas for certain days, but I'm holding them off for those days. And I was looking for something to do, and I got busy yesterday. Had a really long day at work on Friday, so I then wound up posting it after midnight for Friday, and I waited till just before the show before I posted Saturday's offering. I'll get back a little bit earlier in the day on each one of them, but I like watching reaction videos for people that don't typically listen to certain types of music.
Yes.
And
I
like
have
I said,
enjoyed plenty of those in the past. But I find my major difficulty is after a little while, with some of them, you begin to suspect that this is not the first time they've heard this music. They're just acting like it's the first time.
well, there's some of them that have heard bits and pieces of the music before, but they didn't realize it until they heard the song. But
Yeah, they might have heard something in a movie soundtrack, but didn't know who it was by or
yeah,
had not ever heard the entire piece.
because there
And
were a couple of them where they were honestly like, look, I did know about this part of the song, but I didn't recognize it, and I didn't, and their reactions for the previous parts were, but you could see when the light
when,
bulb went off,
yep,
and
yep, and that's my point about the exact opposite. There are people out there where their reactions are so extreme they can't be natural. They
yeah,
have to be acting. It's like, oh Lord, they're like farming
hmm
basically.
well,
Uh,
they're basically trying to get enough likes where they can get their channels monetized.
yeah, and if they got a cool enough personality, it'll work.
Hmm.
And some of them, even though they're outright lying to your face about having never heard this
Yeah.
music before, they're still entertaining enough to where you don't care. And well, that's where I was going with that, talking about the canal boat videos. I've been watching a lot of those. I've been watching a lot of the primitive camping videos.
Hmm.
There's a dozen or two different people that have been doing stuff like that. There's some folks that have been recording themselves. They do a time lapse of an entire year's worth of constructing a cabin in the woods using the most complicated tool they've got is a chainsaw,
Hmm.
and the rest of it's just hand tools.
Yeah.
And then there's the the little girl down there. Joe Dog said she was in Vietnam. I knew it was somewhere in Southeast Asia, but I didn't know where. Builds the most beautiful, ornate things by hand, and just wonderful. I mean, I find it hard to put it into words. Actually, how impressive this work is. But then,
Sounds like it's really exquisite and ornate details.
yeah, as I said in Stupid O'Clock, if you watch this, you wind up with an understanding of how places like Angkor Wat came to be.
Mhm.
There's generations of people working by hand to do
Oh, and
all these elaborate things.
I watched I don't know if it's History Channel or Discovery Channel. It was a special on Angkor Wat, and it was so fascinating. And as an interesting side note, on Yes's Union album, that's one of my favorite songs off that album,
Hmm.
Angkor Wat. Should have known there'd been a music reference come up at some point in time.
Hey, it's us.
It's
If we can't,
inevitable.
if we don't drop a music reference in every few minutes, people are going to wonder where the pod people took us over. So yeah, and I've been trying to do a pair of music video mix compilations on YouTube. Where I've got one that's just music I think is really cool, and then
Mhm.
I've got one that I'm making of more romantic stuff that Lindsay and I enjoy together
Yeah.
for her, basically. And
Well,
then
like
I've got a Last Man Standing mix, and then I've got my the ones for videos I make of my music,
hmm
and those are. I mean, the music's great, but the videos suck. Believe me, I'm just putting up slideshows with my music behind it when I really would like to get out with a camera and do some footage of something interesting for people to watch. Uh, I'm hoping that the music captures their imagination and then just don't hate me because of the boring slideshow.
yeah. Well, like I said, I've tried to pick some artists that maybe aren't as well known. Um, I did. I decided to go with because I was watching this couple from Oklahoma that did a bunch of reaction videos, and they're open to anything. They'll listen to metal, they'll listen to rock, they'll listen to country, they'll listen to hip hop, and I thought it was cool because there's some genuine stuff that you can tell they never heard before, and they really
Hmm.
dug it, and they really like. They call saxophone horns, but it's really brass. But they love saxophone, harps,
Hmm.
trumpets, trombones, horns and strings and all. And I got to thinking about it. And I'm like, well, I know a song. I was watching him react to "Bad at the Bone," and she had heard the chorus.
Yeah.
And they're a couple, and like I said, they're cute and they're nice, and they got a message for positivity for all their fans, and they call all their fans and subscribers a family, and they wish them nothing but the best, and all that good stuff. And I'm thinking because they were having a fit over saxophone there, especially towards the end of the song,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking, I don't know a band that utilizes saxophone pretty well. And like the song's pretty famous, but the band's not that well known because they're known as another band in the actual movie.
Yeah.
So I chose John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band and On the Dark Side.
Uh-huh. I knew that was a song you were going for.
Well, I started to use Tender Years because I like that one too. And it's got a nice saxophone in it, but it's just cool the way the arrangement and everything with On the Dark Side is. And I normally try not to use the biggest song by the bands
Hmm.
because, it's just like, and I haven't, and I probably won't pick a Journey song, but I'm obviously not going to use Don't Stop Believing because everybody's heard it.
Hmm.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I still love the song, I enjoy it, but, I do space it out where I don't hear it all the time.
Now, if you could find the original YouTube video for Should Have Been Gone, or whatever the actual title of that one
Oh,
is.
Sherry, that's
Oh,
Steve
Sherry.
Perry's
Okay.
solo work.
Yeah. The the bit there with the music video producer at the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, and they're
The
just
label loves you, Steve.
they're tossing out references to different genres of movies and whatnot. I, it looks like they're trying to establish dominance, but what they're
Hmm.
actually doing is trying to find a common ground for what they want
Yeah,
to make the next video to be.
yeah. And then you have the stereotypes of all the people.
Hmm.
The director, the record company executive, the publicist, and all that, and the band. And actually, it gives me an idea for a song. So I probably won't use it. I'm probably going to have to try and come up with something hip hop or rap for tomorrow because my little brother liked that kind of stuff. And I want to honor his memory. So,
Mm.
but like I said, I got to try and think about that one because I want it to be something that's actually got a little bit of a good sound, uh, some creativity to it, and something that's a little bit off the beaten path.
Yeah, that's always nice. Something that people haven't heard a million times.
Yeah, and like I said, I've got ideas, and I heard them do a review of a song I hadn't heard in a while. A couple of them actually. Um, they did a couple of songs by Corey Hart, which I hadn't heard in a long time, and they did Alana Miles' Black Velvet, which that's a
Mm.
nice, sultry, good song. And then Laura Branigan's Self Control, of all things. Wasn't expecting to do that one.
Oh, oh. Uh, Samantha Fish is going to be playing at the Georgia Theater here in Athens.
Cool. I was, I had other stuff going on and the weather was a little bit cold, but I actually wanted to go see Anna Popovic. I don't know if you've heard of her or not.
It sounds familiar, but I can't really put a memory
She's
to it.
a um, of European descent guitar player, and she's kind of does the bluesy rock stuff, and she's pretty
Hmm.
good. I actually seen her once before at Riverbend. She was going to be at Songbirds Foundation in Chattanooga, and I missed out on it. So,
I would love to go see Bonnie Raitt before she retires.
yeah, um, there's several of them that I've been trying to get off my bucket list that I hadn't been able to catch live, and there's some of them I won't be able to.
Mm.
I actually did get to see ZZ Top before Dusty Hill died. and I got to see Van Halen before Eddie died,
Hmm.
but I never got to see Van Halen with all four original members. It was Michael Anthony and Eddie had a falling out because Eddie was pissed off because Michael Anthony was still friends with Sammy Hagar and he had him on the outs. Of course, Eddie was slowly getting back to where he was talking to all of them. There
Yeah,
was actually plans to do a tour with everybody.
that would have been
Sammy,
nice.
Michael Anthony, Roth, and Wolfgang, and Alex and him, of course. That would have been awesome. And I saw them react to his. It wasn't exactly Eruption. It was included in it, but they did the guitar solo from their Live Without a Net video, and they were just like blown away because they'd never seen the finger tapping that he had done before, and just
Yeah, I, I believe it was Stanley Jordan that popularized that way back in the beginning. Not was the first one that ever did it, but one of the more famous names that did it early enough to where people who had never been exposed to it got exposed to it real quick.
yeah. Um, but it was cool seeing them react to stuff and seeing some songs that I hadn't heard in a while, and I'm like, I don't really want to use that one, and yeah, but that's one of their most popular ones, and I'm trying to, like I said, I
Hmm.
made an exception because, like I said, John Cafferty's better known by the movie band than he is the actual name of the band,
Yeah,
and I'm sure he's okay with that, but it's as long as he's getting royalties, I'm sure he don't care.
there was one night where I was hopscotching around
Hmm.
and I ran across folks doing a reaction video to the Righteous Brothers.
Hmm.
And then I clicked on the same video, but somebody else doing a reaction to
Hmm.
it over and over and over again. The most common reaction was, I've heard this before, but I didn't know they was white. Oh, yeah.
Well, Joe got me turned on, and I haven't seen any of his posts. I don't know if his channel got removed or he quit posting or what, but he got me turned on to No Life Shack,
Yeah.
and his video to reaction to Chris Stapleton's Tennessee Whiskey is. I still enjoy watching it. I've seen it a dozen times, but he talks about, man, y'all made me say beautiful. Me calling this beautiful. He said, y'all did that. And like I said, I just got a kick out of it. But this was a couple. Like I said, they're from Moore, Oklahoma, and they even did some country reaction videos
Hmm.
because I watched them do Dolly's Here You Come Again and Garth Brooks The Dance,
Hmm.
and I watched them do a couple Led Zeppelin songs reactions, and um, Even though they pronounced Patty Smyth's name, they did the Warrior. Or it might have been another couple. There was another couple. They were okay, but I liked that one couple because they seemed more genuine and caring and more into it.
Hmm.
The other ones just looked like they were kind of doing the motions, and sometimes they were into it, sometimes.
Yeah, and you can tell when they're into it.
Yeah,
It's the real emotion comes through no matter how good the acting is.
it reminds me. I need to share you share the link with you on one of it is absolutely freaking hilarious.
Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Uh, I,
I'll find time to fit it in somehow. Um,
it's somebody reacting to Ted Nugent's stranglehold,
oh boy.
and the guy actually lives in Kennesaw, or he
Oh
did at
boy.
the time, and you will be laughing hard, and you will be weirded out, and you will laugh some more. It's that funny.
Sounds like a fun time.
Oh yeah. Uh, like I said, I can't share it on here, but you will definitely be amused.
Well, I've got to admit that my free time is a little bit less than it was 2 months ago.
Yeah, with the weather warming up, there's more to do because you got to get ready for spring and work's
Well,
picking up and everything.
no, actually, what I meant was that Aphelion short story editor, our most recent short story editor,
Yeah,
got a new job and moved, and no longer has time to do the volunteer work to do the editing the short stories for the magazine. So I've got to do that now until we can find another short story editor. And that's one of the hardest jobs on the magazine because it's the one that
yeah,
gets the most submissions.
yeah.
I mean, the only thing that comes close is the poetry editor and flash fiction, and they're both the same guy. So he's doing two different magazines sections with lots and lots and lots of submissions. But Aphelion has gone through short story editors faster than Spinal Tap goes through drummers. It's like there's only so long you can put up with doing this much work and not get burnt out. So every few years, we've got to find somebody else that is willing to put in the time. And unfortunately, for a job that does not pay, but it takes up as much time as an actual job, and it's you just do it for the love of doing it, trying to help uh, brand new writers learn enough to where they can sell their stuff to professional publishers. And it's difficult to budget time to do that sort of thing when you're not getting paid for it. You're just doing it because you love to help people out. You love to teach, as it were. And in between editors, I have to step up and fill in while they're gone. And right now, it's one of those times where I have to step up and uh, be the short story editor as well as the publisher and um, do my editorials and do the uploading of the new issues and sections and whatnot, to just actually flipping the issue. But doing that issue flip is only like one day a month. Doing short story editing is rather more involved in time because you've got to read the submissions. You've got to offer constructive criticism to the writers. You've got to see whether or not they are open to constructive criticism, or whether or not they think that their every word is carved in stone and cannot be changed, or if they're willing to admit that they might not be perfect and might have something else that they need to learn, and be willing to adapt, and all this. And like I said, it's one of the hardest jobs on the zine.
Yeah.
And since nobody nobody at Aphelion gets paid for anything. I don't make any money off of it. The editors don't make any money off of being editors. The writers don't get paid. But we
It,
don't accept any ads,
yeah.
and we don't want any ads. It's not, the magazine is not to make me money. It's to get writers trained up to where they can start selling their work professionally, selling their work. That's the entire purpose of it. Is it's a permanent floating writers workshop.
It's a
So
labor of love.
it has been for a quarter century. I have been doing this, and all the rest of the crew has been helping me out, because if it had just been me, it wouldn't have lasted more than 2 years, maybe three at the most.
Yeah.
But I was lucky enough to have friends that go, "No, this is too important. You're doing something good for people. We're not going to let you stop.
Yeah.
We will step in, and we will lighten the workload, and we will make sure that you get a chance to carry on." And that was about year three out
Hmm.
of 25 years, and we've been going ever since.
Yeah.
And
That's
I don't know how
amazing.
much longer it'll go on, but I I really don't want to stop. Really don't want the magazine to stop. I really don't want to give up seeing these emails from writers going, "Hey, I sold a story," knowing full
Yeah.
well that means sooner or later you're going to stop sending us stuff because you can get paid for everything you write.
Hmm.
Now we've got people that have been selling their stuff for quite a while, and they still name drop us. They still mention us. There's a young lady that was one of our short story editors not that long ago, who's got a book out right now. It just came out, and it's wonderful. I just bought myself a copy uh,
Hmm.
just tonight. I like to do that when I find out somebody's got, one of our writers has got something out there. I'd like to be able to go and buy a copy, and hope one day I'll be able to run into him at a convention and get an autograph. Uh, I really love having autographed books, knowing the writers. Uh, but it just feels so good to be able to help people succeed. It really does. That's my reward, is helping people succeed. And I hate the fact that I'm not going to get any more stories by those particular writers after
Hmm.
a while, or I might get one every once in a while that they send in, just hey, thank y'all for helping me. Here's something. That's a great feeling too. But as far as being a money making proposition, that was never in the cards to begin with. That runs counter to
Hmm.
everything that I've laid down the principle for the magazine to be. Uh, No ads, no fees, no bullshit. Just good stuff to read by people that are up and coming. So, if anybody watching this wants to be a short story editor, my email is readily available.
Hmm.
Like I said, you don't get paid, and it's an awful lot of work, and you have to do it in your free time, and it is a labor of love. But by helping other people learn all the tips and tricks of the trade and become better writers, you yourself learn how to be a better writer.
There you go, Dan. Would you
All
get a
right.
chance?
Yep, I got it.
I had to find it.
Oh, don't worry about it. Yeah, I'll take a look at it as soon as I get a chance. But oh
Oh man, uh, good stuff. Good stuff.
yeah, I've still got to finish this book I'm working on. I mean, it's driving me
You're gonna
nuts
get
that I'm
there.
not finished with it yet.
You're
I'm
gonna get there.
I'm so close. I'm so close.
Is it anything in particular, or just everything in general that's holding you up?
Well, it's I've got so much else that I have to get done,
Mm-hmm.
and some of it's around the house, and some of it is uh, work, and some of it is some of it's being depressed about not being able to do stuff,
Yeah. Mm, I'm,
and I feel like that's normal for me. It's just when I can't focus on something and get a reasonable amount of progress on it, I don't feel good about myself, and it's not like I'm goofing off, but
well, you're kind of like me. If you got so many things that you're having to do, and you're trying to get a little bit done on several of them, and it seems like you're not making progress on any of them, it's frustrating as heck, and it gets
yeah,
depressing, and it,
yeah, exactly. And it depends on the situation for everything around me.
you know,
You know,
it's called adulting, and it sucks. I wouldn't
yeah,
recommend it,
well, yeah,
but you ain't got no choice after
yeah.
you reach a
What
certain
one
age.
star would not recommend. Yeah,
Yeah.
uh, but I'm trying to get as much done as I possibly can, and I'm not as proficient at budgeting my time as I would like to be.
Well, the thing about it is, at some point, things will start snowballing in a good way,
Hmm.
and you'll start making progress on stuff, and you'll feel better, and you'll have more energy, and then,
Yeah, yep. When things start going right, and they will,
yeah,
stuff going wrong is only temporary. I learned that long ago. Everything turns around. Everything goes right eventually.
I mean, it's like most things in life. It's cyclical.
Yep,
You'll have good cycles, and you'll have bad cycles, and you'll have somewhere in
exactly.
between.
And when the good cycles run around, everything's hell on wheels and ready to go. When it's in between, I can still manage to get stuff done. When it's the bad cycles, I couldn't do anything if you held a gun on me.
Yeah, I totally understand. I've been there a number of times myself. It's very frustrating, annoying, and aggravating. But
Yep.
it's To use a football reference, it's just like a running back. You put your head down, you keep your legs turning, and keep
Hmm.
going till the whistle blows.
It's like I keep telling folks: one foot in front of the other. Don't give up. Just keep going. Eventually, you'll reach some sort of milepost that lets you feel better about putting in the effort and getting things done. And the next milepost will be that much closer because you feel better about having reached this first one. Reaching the second one gets a little bit easier. Reaching the third one gets a little bit easier. There'll be setbacks along the way. There'll be roadblocks thrown up at you. You just have to keep bulling right ahead. Don't let
Yes,
anything stop you.
something I was going to ask you, and I'm I don't think I asked this specific question. If I did before, I apologize because I've slept since then. Um, do you use any particular program to write your stuff on, or is it
I generally use Word.
okay?
It's got one of the best spell checkers, and basically I don't need a lot of bells and whistles. I just need a good word processor,
Hmm.
something that will point out that I have misspelled something
Yeah,
before I get too far away from it,
yeah,
and something that will go, "Hey, did you really mean to make this decision in the grammar here?
hmm,
Because it could go this way or it could go that way. Which one did you really want to keep?" And
yeah.
that's nice. I mean, I don't let it do the full checks on me because half the time I'm writing alien names and words and whatnot, and I've
Hmm.
got to add them to the dictionary to make sure I spell
Yeah.
them the same way twice in a row. It's really weird when you're writing something. You got a character from outer space with a funky name, and you misspell the name, and the word processor says, "Hey, wait a minute! You put three I's in it the last time."
Yep. Um.
No, I've used a variety of word processors. At one time, I wrote everything in the HTML editor because it was
Mhm.
going to be a web page anyway.
Yeah.
So why waste time transferring it from just a plain ordinary vanilla word processor to
Yeah.
the HTML editor to make it into a web page when you can just that had a perfectly good spell check and everything else in it too. Plus, you were able to use the specialized controls for writing a web page to get the headers and any not page breaks, but the lines that go all the way across the screen. I can't remember what they're called right now, but you can use
Columns,
those.
rows.
No, no, I mean it's just a graphic line that goes across the page to separate one section from another.
Oh, okay.
You'd use it where some people would use a hashtag or um, a row of
Hmm.
asterisks.
Hmm.
It's just it's not a line break or it's not a page break. It's some kind of break. But
Well.
horizontal rule, that's what it is. Horizontal rule is
Hmm.
what it's called on a web page. And, you got all that stuff in there. You just click and it automatically puts it in. You don't even have to write the code.
Yeah. I just I'm friends with some authors, and some of them
Yeah,
not really published authors, but working on their first works, and I've heard them talk about different programs, and I was wondering what you might like because I've heard them mention Scrivener and
yeah, yep.
a couple other things.
I have a lot of professional writers on my friends list on Facebook, and I see a lot of them going on about this program or that program, or
Hmm.
hey, I was doing a screenplay and this one worked really well, and oh, this one does all the chapter breaks for you, and oh, this one's kind of basic, but it's got this really cool trick that I need for it to do, and it does it. And I'm going, well, maybe I'm not that far advanced in my career to where I need all that bells and whistles because
Yeah.
the simple stuff has been working for me. I will tell you, a lot of people hate Word,
Mhm.
um, especially if you're trying to put illustrations in something
Mhm.
or just photographs. You
Yeah.
you you throw that thing in there and you move it by a millimeter, and all of a sudden you've got 16 extra blank pages somewhere that you can't find that you need to delete,
Yeah.
and the photograph is now 20 pages away from the text it was supposed to refer to, and all you did
Yeah.
was move it down a line. And,
Yeah.
and
Um.
I had to write a training manual for one of the machines at work, and the only tool I had to use was Word.
Yeah.
And by the time I got to the end of the training manual, I was pretty good at being able to anchor the photographs to the text it was supposed to be referring to. I
Yeah.
mean, sometimes those anchors don't catch hold real well.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do, and everything is just fine and dandy. And you can resize the illustration so that it is still a very good photograph, but it doesn't take up as much space on the page. But the compromise is if you get it too small,
Mhm.
the people that need to see it aren't seeing enough detail to know exactly what it is they're looking at.
Yeah. I know some of them that I mentioned earlier like using stuff that converts voice to text,
Hmm.
but there's usually hiccups with those programs.
You have to
And
train it to
most,
you have to train it to your own individual accent.
yeah, and
You can't
there,
use it right out of the box.
yeah, that's one thing that my voice doesn't jive well with a lot of those things off the bat,
Hmm.
and I guess my accent's a little thicker than I'd like for it to be, but it is what it is. I mean,
Well,
I can talk in complete sentences most of the time. Uh, Unfortunately, I sur- am surrounded by people that's how shall I put this? Their ability to use the English language in a correct manner leaves a lot to be desired.
I believe I understand completely. Yes.
Because their utilization and capability of and command of the language and the grammar leave a lot, like I said, to be desired, and aren't that great.
But it doesn't mean they're stupid. They just,
No, but like I said, if you're around somebody that talks real country, sometimes subconsciously it rubs off on you. You wind up
mhm.
saying stuff like they would say it.
Well, I have learned over the years there's a big difference between an accent and a dialect.
Yes,
And I don't know that I could explain it, or at least
I know
well
what
enough
you're
for other
getting at.
people to understand. But um,
Like my grandfather, bless his heart, rest his soul. Um, he was very country, and some of the ways he would pronounce things and say things, he would sometimes say when he was meaning against, he would say again.
mhm.
Knew he was again him, and he'd say things like cheer for chair, and far for fire. And add in an R for, like you say, I'm going to go wash my hands. He'd say, I'm going to go wash my hands.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Growing up in Appalachia, there were an awful lot of unnecessary H's added to the beginning of words, and there were an awful lot of R's dropped in the middle of the words that didn't belong there, and several other things.
Yeah, there was a tendency to put idea instead of idea.
Mm-hmm. And so many dropped G's.
Yeah.
You could use up a whole box of apostrophes trying to keep up with that accent. I
Yeah, but the
had
funny
had to
thing,
order a whole new palette to do one guy from Texas. Let me tell you.
is, Appalachian English is probably closer to Middle English than,
Well, closer to the colonial period
yeah,
English than anything else,
yeah,
because the population was very, very isolated and did not see any reason to roll with the changes,
yep.
basically.
Good REO Speedwagon song.
I knew you get that. Okay, I got to step away for a minute. You just go ahead and laugh for a couple of minutes.
I could do that. Oh man. Yeah, that's all you need, folks. Just turn me and Dan loose with some music references and a few little tie-ins we can turn into music references. Most of them rock and roll, but there's a few other ones. Yeah, growing up in the South, you have an appreciation for those type of things. What the heck is that noise? Wonder if his mic is doing something. Hmm. But yeah, we've been talking about various subjects, writing, work life balances, and projects that he's got on the menu and on his schedule, and trying to work all that out amongst all the other stuff going on. And I would play some music, but we would liable to be get in trouble with the various owners of the material, and we don't want to do that because we want people to get credit for their stuff. And
Oh,
yeah, your phone was picking up a microphone was picking up a vibration. I was trying to talk over, and it was distracting me.
oh, it was draped really close to the other computer.
And it's
I don't think it was picking up a hum from the USB outlet
it was a
strip.
vibration sound.
Well, had it hanging on the.
I don't know if it was maybe picking up on a small appliance or something running, but
Well, uh,
it's gone now, whatever it was. So I'm not going to worry too much about it. I was basically informing anybody watching that it didn't take much for us to turn into a musical reference. Give us
Never,
a line or an idea, something we can turn it into, and we can run with it. And
yeah, really.
we were discussing life work balances and the frustrations of trying to get everything done on itinerary and schedules. And
Give us a straight line, we'll turn it into a joke at one end and a joke at the other.
yep, and probably a musical reference or two in between.
Hmm. Oh, you weren't in the green room last night, were you?
No.
Donna was getting on to me. She caught on to a trick that I pulled in one of the Spaceport bar stories. She's reading the book.
Mm-hmm.
She's trying to figure out who this character was that was being referenced in the story, and she's going,
Mm-hmm.
well, it's not Kinky Friedman, it's not it's not and oh, oh, she called me, and she finally realized I had dropped myself in the story.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason being, at one time in the shared universe for the Spaceport bar stories, people had started putting me in as a character, but they were writing me as if I would be surprised or frightened or confused about winding up in this bar that basically I created. So I decided to set the story straight. And well, if in the show Cheers, everybody knows your name.
Mm-hmm.
In my bar, I know everybody's backstory. So
Yeah.
I I would be really comfortable. Let me tell you, really comfortable. And I
Mm-hmm.
would not be the least bit upset or frightened about winding up there, and wouldn't be the least bit worried about how I'm going to find my way back.
Yeah.
But
Because you know who could help, who would be a help, and all that.
and if I couldn't find any help, I could fire up a word processor and create some.
Exactly.
And this particular story was illustrating exactly how much fun a writer could have if he
Mm.
realized that he was in somebody else's story,
Mm-hmm.
but still had the creativity and the descriptive ability and the power to affect the environment just by being a creative type.
Ah.
So it's basically you got more superpowers than Obi-Wan Kenobi and Martian Manhunter combined.
That's a pretty cool thing to have.
Yeah, especially in certain situations where um, you think the shit's about to hit the fan, and you go, nah. Control Alt Delete. Uh,
Yeah, I got this.
really. Oh, but
My boss.
her reaction to when she figured it out was just absolutely priceless.
Yeah, because she thinks herself pretty clever. She actually does catch on to a lot of stuff fairly quickly. So pull one over on her, you did good.
I managed to pull the wool over her eyes for almost three quarters of the story, really. But knowing that that was the story that she was on, I looked at the table of contents in the book. She's only got maybe, um, let's see, two short stories, a longer story, and a poem left, and she'll be done with the book.
Yeah.
which means I've got to write more because she's going to want more.
Yeah, and you got to get some projects done so you can have time to focus on it.
Hmm.
And it would help if you had a short story editor.
This is the exact point I was making with that earlier discussion. Um, I've got, I'm so close to finishing the prequel to one of the other books I've got out. I've got a fantasy story that's about halfway done. I would really like to finish up
Mhm.
and get out there. My publisher wants me to do a whole nother collection of my own spaceport bar stories. He wants me to edit an anthology of the other writers in the shared universe series, and I can't get a hold of some of them. I mean, some of them I have not talked to in 15 years, if not 20. Don't have viable email addresses for them anymore.
Well,
And it would be a real shame to put out an anthology of the other people that have written in the series without including these guys that really helped get it successful.
yeah,
I feel like I owe them, you know?
yeah. I totally get it. I mean, you want to help those that helped you get it launched, and
Well,
not being able.
they might not even need the help. Some of them might be off being successful on their own and
Yeah,
just, lost touch.
yeah,
But I feel like they need to be honored.
yes. And you don't want to act like you're trying to undermine or undercut their
Yeah, I'm not trying to
contributions to it.
shortchange anybody.
Yeah.
And there was one year when it's like we were living in each other's pockets. One of us put out a story that would spark somebody else put out a story that kind of was almost a sequel to the first one, and then somebody else put out another one that was almost a sequel to the first two, and it just kind of snowballed. And it's one big creative bit, and it would be nice to have that be in there so that people could could see the progression of all of us gathering up the bits that we really enjoyed of somebody else's stuff
Hmm.
and bringing it in as a fan service basically
Hmm.
just added to the mythology of the bar
Hmm.
and just kind of helped each other build this place.
Yeah.
I laid the framework. Some of them did the carpentry, some of them laid the tile, some of them uh,
Added the decor.
yeah, really a lot of decor. Let
Hmm.
me tell you, there there were a lot of internal what was it interior designers
Hmm.
basically that came to work on this project. I just drew the blueprints. They did the work.
Yeah. I just saw that yesterday. Uh, Bassist Steve Harris of Iron Maiden turned 66.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's amazing how well some of these people have aged.
Hmm.
I mean, I hope
Rick,
the heck I'm still in decent shape by the time I'm 66.
um,
I'm closer to it than I am 26. That's for damn sure.
I resemble that remark. I'm 64.
Yeah, but
I'm
you're
I'm still pretty
remarkably.
I'm still
Yeah,
pretty spry for my age. Yeah.
yep. I think you have aged well.
I have been hearing that a lot lately, and I don't really know why.
Well, I think it's because you're still young at heart.
Oh, yeah, I'm still.
And you're still in relatively good physical condition. You might not be athletic, but there's a lot of people your age that aren't nowhere near as in good a shape as you are.
Well, I owe that to a lifetime of hard work.
Yes.
As for being young at heart, yeah, I'm afraid that I have to admit that I am still 18, no matter how old my body is. Um,
Shit, sometimes I'm younger than that. Maturity wise.
yeah, I can relate. I can relate. There's still some of the childlike glee in a very very simple and silly uh, prank or joke or situation that I can just
Hmm.
it's all I can do to keep from falling down laughing. And,
Yeah, and that there's days I feel incredibly young and spry, and there's other days where I feel like I'm a decade and a half or more older than I already am.
yeah, there are days when I come home from work and I sit down and I start checking my email, and hour later I've got to get up out of the chair and go do something, and I'm looking around going, I could use a walker about now. It's um my wife is not going to be the only one that's going to be really happy when I retire. This has been a very, very physical job, and it's very, very tiring and very wearing on my body.
And
And
it's probably more mentally stressful than it should be.
it can be, but
It
the
also,
actual the actual work
mhm,
isn't. But there are times when I have to deal with people that just don't get it, and you're trying to come at them from a common sense direction, and they've got a preconceived notion that they're not really willing to let go of,
yeah.
and common sense and their preconceived notion can't find any common ground to meet on, and it gets very very mentally frustrating because what they want is impossible,
And
but it's
unless
like
you
you're
figure
speaking a
out,
foreign language. You can't explain to them why it's impossible because they're not willing to believe it.
yeah, and it's hard trying to find another angle to get through their thick skulls that this isn't going to work no matter how bad you want it to.
Hmm.
That's the thing I get annoyed with is the
You,
upper management of the company I work for has had all these motivational speakers blow smoke up their tailpipes
yes.
and tell them all you have to do is believe it and will it to happen and it will happen. And these guys that are saying this are doing it from a totally different field. They have no
Clue.
way of understanding that their concept doesn't apply to what you're dealing with.
Hmm.
And you got all these higher ups that believe this and expect everyone down below them to make it happen because this motivational speaker that's been blowing smoke up their tailpipes, who has nothing to relate to that works or experience related to what you're doing,
Hmm.
and doesn't understand the concepts that you're having to work around and deal with, that they don't want to hear in upper management because they've had somebody tell them that they pay big money, by the way,
Uh-huh.
that all you have to do is believe it and make it happen.
You can believe it all you want, but you can't violate the laws of physics. If it ain't possible to happen, it ain't going to happen no matter how hard you believe.
Well, that's the problem.
Yes, I
When
know,
you
but
when you've had these people that had these motivational speakers tell them that they don't want to hear anything else and they don't want to believe anything else because they've been told all you got to do is will it to happen and it make it happen.
well, these snake oil salesmen and these revival preachers that have been talking to you don't know nothing about the real world. They're just telling you what you want to hear.
Exactly.
And what you want to do hasn't worked the last 40 times we tried it. So
I mean, I'll try and make what they want to happen happen, but if it ain't gonna happen, it ain't gonna happen.
it really, if it's not physically possible to do, I don't care how hard we try to do it, it ain't physically possible. Chemistry doesn't work that way. Physics don't work that way. You know, uh, they're rules, and you're trying to violate them by wishful thinking.
Yeah, well. Anyway, I'm not gonna go any more details about it. I don't want to get anybody in any trouble, especially me. But
Well, yeah,
it is frustrating,
yeah,
and I
and
have
notice I have not named names or anything else like that. It's just,
yeah
it's a general thing about um, the difference between management and labor, that labor has a real world experience to know that we tried to do this before and it ain't possible. Management has the experience of, we were told that we could do anything.
yeah.
Uh, you can't lift yourself by your own bootstraps.
And the problem is they don't want to hear that it can't be done.
And they also don't want to hear that, yeah, we could do it, but it's going to take an awful lot of money.
Yeah, because the whole purpose is for them to save money.
Hmm. It can't be done cheaply or it can't be done at all. And they don't want to hear either one.
Yeah,
But the real world has its own demands and it has unbreakable rules. You can bend them a little bit, just a little bit, but you can't break them.
nope.
Otherwise, there are disastrous consequences like you're out of business.
Yeah, or you've lost a lot more money than you should have because you pursued something that you shouldn't even bother trying to accomplish.
Hmm. Um, it makes you wish that common sense was something that could be taught in school.
Common sense has gotten to where it's uncommon.
It's a superpower. If you can look at a situation and go, that ain't right, and somebody else is going, well, let's make it right, and you know it ain't possible.
Yep.
There was one guy wanted to put in a safety interlock where every time you opened a gate to climb a set of stairs, it would shut the entire production line down.
Uh,
He would not listen to reason, and the reason being, in order to keep the line running, people had to open that safety gate and walk up those stairs and do something at the top of those stairs without shutting the line down. There was no way to do the job and not open that gate.
yeah.
And we had gotten by just fine for 35 years, 40 years without needing the gate there in the first place. You just climbed
Yeah,
the stairs when you needed to. You did what you needed to do at the top. And if you were worried about somebody getting hurt, then you tried your damnedest to train people the right way to do whatever it was that needed to be done at the top of the stairs without putting themselves in danger. The solution is not stop people from climbing the stairs. The solution is train people how to do the job safely.
yeah. But you just deal with it as best you can.
22 and a half more months. That's all I've got to put up with it.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I have quite a bit longer to go before I reach retirement age if I want to stay employed where I'm currently employed at, which I would like to do because I've gotten a certain amount of vacation time built up, and I like the people there for the most part.
And there are perks to having a regular paycheck, too.
Yes, I mean that helps out quite a bit.
Mm
It provides money, which pays for bills and stuff,
hmm. Mm hmm.
like food and gas and other expenses that crop up.
Statesman.
Yeah, well, I haven't been able to buy any of that. So I'm trying to save up some money to where I can, but this has been an expensive month for me, and it's not over yet.
Yeah. Yep. I know exactly. And short term, I don't see it getting any better quickly.
No, but if I just quit having that expected stuff crop up and little hand grenades and landmines placed in my path along the way, I would,
Well, that's the trouble with unexpected stuff. It's unexpected.
yeah, and then at some point in time before too long, I'll have to buy a new set of tires, and that ain't cheap. And but I keep on keeping on, so hopefully I'll make it through and get to the point where I can start putting away a little bit more funds to cover any unexpected stuff and eventualities that crop up in the future, near future.
Yeah. All you can do is keep going.
Yep, do the best I can do. If it
Ain't
ain't
no
good
use
enough, yeah,
ain't no use stopping because you just get behind that way.
yep. I've already been behind. I've been playing catch up, and I'm almost caught up. And I'd like to stay that way if at all possible. But at least I have diversions like Last Man Standing, and Stupid O'Clock, and music, and other various forms of entertainment, and to escape the weariness of reality on occasion. So
Yep. It always helps to have something to lighten the load and take your mind off of other things,
help
even
keep
if
your
it's just
sanity
temporary.
and help you keep your sanity.
Yep. Uh, a certain amount of distractions can keep you motivated to tackle the stuff that you're being distracted from.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm looking forward to hopefully being a little bit further ahead in my finances and planning for days ahead.
Yep. Uh, 2 years ago, I was $30,000 deep in credit card debt. Now I'm less than $700 deep in credit card debt.
That's awesome.
Yes, there was a lot of things that $30,000 that I spent to get out of the credit card debt could have done
Yep.
that we put aside. But now that we have reached this particular plateau and it doesn't look like we're going to be backing up and getting further in debt again anytime soon,
Hmm.
which doesn't rule out having to, emergency buy a car or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
But for something expenses smaller than that,
Yeah.
we've got enough set aside where we can. Lindsay wants a new refrigerator and stove and microwave and exhaust hood over the stove, and I got that. I got that. Don't even have to worry about pulling out a credit card. I can pull that out of the checking account.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. Well, we've got to.
You got to shore up that floor first, but
Yep.
yeah.
Otherwise, getting the old refrigerator out and putting a new one in will put a hole in the damn floor. So
Yeah, you don't want to add to the expenses already involved.
no, no. If I can shore up the floor so that I don't have to totally replace the floor, that'll be a
Very good thing.
much better thing than any of the alternatives of just it ain't gonna heal, so might as well deal.
Yeah. And that's one of the things about being an adult. You got to deal with stuff you don't want to have to deal with. But
I'm still trying to figure out how they're gonna get the old refrigerator out and the new refrigerator in now that I've screened in the front porch. You can't just back a truck up to go straight in the front door. You got
yep.
to do a 90-degree turn in a limited space. Thank God the front door and the door to the screened-in porch are 3 feet wide.
Yeah, you're gonna need every bit of it.
Uh-huh. Every single inch, if not more. It's like whenever we have to replace the washer and dryer,
Hmm.
I have to tear an entire doorway out,
Yeah.
trim, frame, everything,
Yeah.
because the laundry hookups were made in a room with a 24-inch door,
Mm,
and the washers and dryers are 31 inches wide, and you
yeah.
can't get one narrower
Yep.
unless you want a little bitty thing that goes in a boat or a
Hmm.
or a camper trailer.
Or an efficiency apartment.
Uh-huh. And those won't handle the kind of workload that we need them to handle.
Yeah. Totally understand it.
So, I've taken that doorway apart 3 times now. 4 times if
Mm,
you count when I originally moved in.
mm,
We're on our third set of washer and dryer since I bought the house.
wow.
So I had to tear it apart to get the originals in. I had to tear it apart to replace the originals. Had to tear it apart to replace them again. Then most recently, I had to tear it apart to get the brand new ones in. That
Wow.
doorway can't be taken apart anymore without just going, you know, it would be a whole lot easier to just reframe this damn door wider.
And put a bigger door in.
Yes. We'll just go ahead and put a 36-inch door in here and it'll be fine.
Yep. Yeah, and if you had enough wide opening going into that room from the house, might be easier to get the fridge in that way.
Well, they all had to come in through the front door because that's the back door is a 28. So
Mm,
you can't get anything a 30-inch wide
yeah,
appliance through a 28-inch door. I don't care how
no,
good you are.
no. It's just a thought. Like I said, I didn't know the particulars, but now that you
Well,
mentioned that, it was a nice thought, but it ain't happening.
no, not that away. Not that away. Um, when I brought my waterbed frame in the house, I had to totally disassemble the frame
Mm,
because it is sheet and a half of plywood wide and a full sheet of plywood long.
mm,
It's California king size.
mm. Yeah.
And when the waterbed mattress that we had burst in the middle of one morning,
Mm,
we went with a memory foam mattress after that.
yeah.
Did not replace the waterbed mattress.
Hmm.
I do miss it. I do miss it. The waterbed mattress was very good for my back. I did not have any backaches until we went to a more traditional form of mattress.
Hmm.
The memory foam is about as close as you can get to a waterbed without hearing it slosh. It,
Yeah.
it's still not as adaptive to your body shape.
Yeah.
It adapts really well, but water adapts even better.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm not waking up in the middle of the night and bailing water out of the bed anymore.
No,
Once
that's
was enough.
yeah. That's not a fun feeling.
No, going and having to jump up and go get buckets and empty the bed into the bathtub. That's not a good feeling at
Not
all.
not to mention the thoughts if you didn't catch it enough time and woke up drowned.
Yeah, really. Thankfully, when I had reassembled it here in the house, I went over it with about a gallon of polyurethane and made it totally sealed so that
Mm,
water did not dribble out from the frame onto the floor.
that
The
was
only
smart on
water
your
that got on
part.
the floor was what spilled out of the buckets when we were running back and forth.
Yeah.
It makes it real hard to take the bed back apart
Yeah.
and try and get it back out of the house. But still, in that one instance, it saved our ass. It really did because there's a particle board subfloor.
Yeah.
You get that wet, you're going to be
Yeah.
in the crawl space underneath.
Yeah. It and presswood don't take water very well.
Nope, not at all. Uh, Sometimes I regret this house was built by HUD back in the '60s. It When I was redoing the living room floor and the kitchen floor,
Hmm.
I found out that this place is a patchwork quilt of leftover parts.
Yep.
You don't you get down to the subfloor, you don't find a full sheet of anything. You've got irregular shapes and irregular sizes, and it's all just piecework together like Granny's quilt.
Yep.
It saved money in
And it's
comparison.
nowhere near as pretty as Granny's quilt.
No, no, especially not once you get that upper subfloor off and you actually see what you've got to work with there.
Mm.
Uh,
I hate to think what houses built nowadays are. Way lumber and plywood and all that stuff has gone up in prices.
and and knowing how many corners get cut.
Yeah.
so that the contractor can make a maximum amount of profit or a minimum amount of expenditure.
Yeah.
I saw housing development go up just down the street from us, and I looked at it and I saw what they were taking off the truck and building the place out of, and I go, mobile homes are built better than that.
That's a scary thought.
Yep. It's a good thing that the tornado passed about 300 yards south of that housing development, or that would have been a parking lot.
Yep. It might have done them a favor. The
Not to people,
people, the
not to people
people,
living there, but
yeah, the
if it
people
had
that hadn't bought properties yet.
if it had happened before anybody bought anything and moved in,
Yeah.
yeah, it would definitely been a
Beneficial
property
to the buyer.
enhancement. Yeah, but I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. I mean,
No, I don't want anybody that's living in a place. I was just thinking before anybody bought the properties, it might have been a good thing. But
yeah, so that the contractor that cut corners would be the only one that lost anything. Yeah, that would
yeah,
be great. That would be just desserts, poetic
yeah,
justice. But no,
yeah. I don't want to see any family suffer needlessly,
no, no.
especially over something like that.
I'm glad that no more damage was done locally than had been done. I mean, as far as I know, there was no loss of life. There was
I
just some trees got knocked over and some garages got knocked over, and aside from that, everything was easy. The damage was easily recoverable
yeah.
from.
Do you remember those tornadoes that happened up in my county a couple of years ago? They're just now gotten to where they've cleaned up the last of the damage from them, and it's been at
Mhm.
least 2 years later.
I remember Ira and Jeannie. Well, before they got together as a couple, Jeannie's
Hmm.
house there in Ringgold
Yeah,
got moved off its foundations by a little bit.
yeah, yeah. That was a few years back further, but
Yeah, yeah, I knew it was. I knew it was. Um,
my dad worked with the family that lost their lives, the man, the woman, and two little kids, and it messed him up when he found out they'd lost their lives in that thing. And I had a coworker that it did a number on him subconsciously. Anytime they were mention of possible severe weather, he just started. And he normally ain't scared of anything, but he would, you know, it would bother him visibly. And
mhm.
I had a classmate who damn near lost his life and is only now slowly beginning to be able to walk. And my mom was close to this couple that worked at the local Ingles, and the woman got hurt badly, and her husband got killed. And like I said, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. I mean, just the stuff that they had to deal with and go through. And
Well, thanks to an accident of geography, our house sits on top of a hill,
hmm
and there are other obstacles in the normal path of severe weather
hmm
that causes severe weather to just split and go around where my
Mm.
house is.
Yeah.
And it's a miracle, and I'm thankful for it, but I can't
Mm.
count on it because that's the only direction that happens in. And it
Yeah.
happens to be the normal direction for severe
Yeah.
weather. If severe weather comes in from any other direction, we in for some rough times.
Yeah. And yeah, that's one good thing about where I live. I don't really have to worry about flooding where I am. But the funny thing about this area of the state is it's kind of protected by the mountains a little bit. But if
Hmm.
one of them things ever gets in one of these valleys, it's going to be hard for it to get out of.
Exactly.
And expending all that enough energy to dissipate into something that's at the worst of heavy wind gusts, really heavy wind gusts, there's probably going to be a lot of stuff damaged. And like I said, I got lucky with that tornado hit because it was about 3 miles away from my house, maybe a little bit more, but you know, that's pretty damn close.
Yep. The one I was telling you about was about just over 300 yards away.
Ooh, excuse me. So 3 football fields essentially.
Actually, it's more like one and a half now that I think about it.
Well, if you count the end zones, yeah, but yeah,
But
between the end zones, 100 yards. So
yeah, so count the end zones. Yeah. Uh, yeah, it was two driveways down, basically. And it followed the creek bed.
hmm
That was the low spot. It
yeah,
followed the creek bed and did a lot of damage to trees next to that neighbor's yard, and it
mm
collapsed some trees onto basically a picnic pavilion that was
mm
out front. They were only using it to store firewood. They didn't really have it. It had been set up to be uh, a picnic pavilion, just like you'd find in a state park or something.
hmm
But they weren't using it for anything other than stacking up firewood in.
yeah,
So that was not a tremendous loss, but
yeah.
it could have been a whole lot worse.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
But, Lindsay was in the bathtub with one of my motorcycle helmets on, waiting for the roof to fly off.
Mm,
And I was at
yep.
work, and they would not let me clock out and go home to be with my wife.
Yeah, I
They,
started to say, wasn't that the one where they wouldn't let you leave work?
they would not shut the line down and let us go to the tornado shelters. They wouldn't let me leave work and go home
Of course not. Why would they let you leave when they could be making money? Costs money to shut that stuff down.
because it's the law.
I know. I'm just telling you, they're
Yeah,
out.
their point of view, yeah, but
Yeah,
they were definitely not
in the
only
wrong.
morally but legally in the
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah,
Refusing to let people go to a storm shelter during a storm.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. That ain't
somebody
cool.
somebody should have called OSHA. Somebody should have called OSHA. That was definitely a hefty fine violation right there, along with state labor law violations.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about something a little more upbeat. It's kind of taking a downward turn.
I know, but we've only got 4 minutes left. I mean, shit.
Yeah, that's true. I
Uh,
actually learned today that Madonna suggested Like a Surgeon for a Weird Al parody to someone who was listening in her entourage that knew someone who knew Weird Al's agent, and word got back to him, and that's the only song that he didn't come up with.
that's weird.
And My Bologna was actually heard by the Knack, and they liked it, and they actually got it put into vinyl production.
Now that's an honor right there. To have the
Yep.
band that you're parodying go, oh, this is great.
And apparently, um, I don't believe he's actually saying it out loud, but if you're familiar with The Saga Begins,
Hmm.
Don McLean has actually had those words come up in his head while he's singing the song.
Well, back in the day, it was reported that when Dred Zeppelin came out, that
Hmm.
Robert Plant had their CD in his car stereo for months, playing, listening to it over and over again. So here you got Robert Plant listening
Hmm.
to a band that plays Led Zeppelin parodies with an Elvis impersonator in front of a reggae band. So,
I'm
that's
sure
quite
he
an
was
honor
getting a
right there.
kick out of it.
Oh Lord, yeah, I loved it. There was a guy at work that is he was an Elvis impersonator,
Hmm.
and he just absolutely loved everything Elvis. And I made him up a tape of the greatest hits off of Dred Zeppelin's first two CDs,
Hmm.
and he just absolutely loved it. I mean, he played it over and over and over again at work,
Yeah.
and a lot of people thought it was really cool, but they didn't realize it wasn't actually Elvis.
Did you have you ever heard of Hayseed Dixie,
I have.
a bluegrass ACDC
Hmm.
tribute band?
Yep. There are a lot of bands out there that do other people's music in
Mm,
wildly different formats from the original and sound great doing it.
yep.
I mean, there's actually some guy that rides around on a unicycle with playing AC/DC music and on bagpipes with flames coming out of the bagpipes.
Wow.
It's dramatic.
Yeah, it's also impressive.
I don't know.
Kind of scary if you think about it, but yeah,
I don't know. I don't know which is more impressive: being able to ride a unicycle, being able to play AC/DC on a set of bagpipes, being able to play bagpipes, or being able to play bagpipes with a flamethrower built in.
yeah, that's all pretty impressive. Like I said, a little bit scary too, but impressive.
It's definitely a something you
Must
want
have
for your
had a
Halloween
lot of
parade.
free time in his youth.
Oh Lord, yeah. But then again, so did Stevie Ray Vaughan had enough free time to learn how to play guitar. It
Yeah,
all
thank
depends on
God.
your particular obsession.
Oh man, that's yeah. One of my friends who has an internet radio station posted Hendrix or Vaughn, and my first thing I thought of was Jimmy Vaughn. I'm like, no, he's got to be talking about Stevie Ray. Not that Jimmy Vaughn isn't a bad guitar player, but Stevie Ray, it's hard to beat him. Did you ever hear their album that they did together?
What, Stevie and Jimmy together?
Yes.
No, but I've seen them on Austin City Limits
Yeah.
live.
There
Very
was a
impressive.
song. I don't know if it was TikTok. I know they played it together, but there's actually a song where they go back and forth sharing the guitar and playing different parts of the song. And I'm just thinking, whoa, that's cool.
Yeah, those boys definitely had time to practice and
And
used it wisely.
well, they just like I said, there's some people that you're glad that they were given the opportunity to learn how to play, and that they're were able to hone their talents and have that stuff recorded for posterity.
Hmm. And their like will not be seen in this world again very soon.
Yeah,
And there are so many people that fall into that category right there. We have been blessed by so many incredible talents in so many different areas, not only
yeah,
in our lifetime, but even before we were born.
yeah. But if you think about it, the 20th century had some of the most talented artists and entertainers around. I mean, you want to talk about drummers, Buddy Rich. And I
Yes.
was a little bit late to the game in learning about him, but very impressive. Jason Bonham,
Mm.
uh, Keith Moon, uh, hell, Ringo Starr. I mean, he's a very underrated drummer.
Animal.
He- of course.
And
Uh,
just as real as anybody else.
hey, I still have his "Eat You for Breakfast" tour T-shirt.
Oh man.
I told you I'm still a teenager at heart in a lot of
Yeah.
ways.
Somewhere I don't have it. Mom may still have it. Somewhere there is still Davidsville and the Chipmunks Christmas album in the collection there somewhere, along with Bill Black and his orchestra and the
I
Dorsey
wish
brothers and Glenn Miller and oh Lord, the stuff I grew up with. And if you listen to the music that I create, you will find references to not only swing and big bands, but comedy and everything else that's come along the pipe since then. That
one of
have,
my favorite comedy albums of all time is George Carlin's "A Place for My Stuff."
yes.
That routine is, and the Book of the Month Club.
Hmm. Well, we're gonna have to wind this up here.
Uh,
I
yep.
I hate to do it. I hate to do it, but
Oh, it's time, and
yeah.
I was trying to get to that point, but at least we ended it on a positive note, talking about some good stuff. So,
Hey, thanks to daylight savings time, we've only had a 5 minute show. So, on that note, folks, we'll join you again next week
yeah,
on Thursday night for Stupid O'Clock. If you are of a writerly bent, please tune in to Michaela Jade's Tidbits and Scribbles on Monday nights. And let's see, we've got Stupid O'Clock and Last Man Standing Thursday night, as well as next Saturday night. We've got, well, Jody McPhee on Saturday nights about an hour before Stupid O'Clock starts with from the desk of a small press publisher. We've got Drinking with the Davies on Friday nights.
don't forget
Uh,
about the Historical Fencing Guild with
Historical
Nicholas
Fencing
Cocker.
Guild, yes, indeed. That's not only can it be hilarious, but it is some seriously good stuff if you're into um, edged weapons and fencing and well, all of the different groups that would find those skills to be something that they would desire to learn. And there are many more. I mean, uh, Brian, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with Nevermind the Furthermore. You've got several shows with Ted Davies during the week. You've got Ted and Uncle Carl doing their cigar show. I don't know what the schedule is for that. It's on daytimes during the middle of the week, so I can't watch it because I'm at work. Um,
Isn't Comic Cryptids on Sunday nights?
uh, yep. Cryptid Crunch is every other Sunday
Okay.
on the back of the Cereal Box Network. Uh, Ryan Permison, his show is Saturday afternoons, I do believe. Might be
Mm.
Saturday mornings. Um, Not sure. I haven't got a good grasp of his schedule yet. And the on Rising Tide Network, there's something every day, 7 days a week. Then you've got the back of the Cereal Box Network, which is just as varied and just as frequent. And then you've got the Raging, the network that Raging is on. They're same thing. There's something every day. Don't know the times because it's hard to really get involved with that. Um, Willow also does the sideshow. Um, I believe that's on Wednesday nights.
Mm.
I'd have to look it up. I'd have to look it up. It's also on back of the Cereal Box Network. Um, uh, well, there's tons of stuff. There's tons of stuff. But
Go check their pages to check for schedules and updates on it as they are made available.
and thank y'all for being here tonight, folks. Uh, we're very grateful that you gave us a couple of hours of your time, and we hope we provided you with a little entertainment and a few laughs and maybe some things to think about, both philosophically and historically and in any other way we could make you think outside the box, mostly. Uh, so thank you very much, everybody. Good night, Chris.
Good night, Dan. I enjoyed it. And until next time,
We will see you when the show opens again.
take care, everybody.
Bye bye.